This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
Oil prices settled lower on Friday but rose for the second straight week as investors weighed factors such as possible supply disruptions in the Middle East and Hurricane Milton's impact on fuel demand in Florida. Brent crude oil futures settled down 36 cents, or 0.45%, at $79.04 a barrel. EDT. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures settled down 29 cents, 0.38%, to $75.56 per barrel. For the week, however, both benchmarks rose by more than 1%. Money managers raised their net long positions on Brent crude by 123,226 contracts to 165,008 in the week to October 8, according to the Intercontinental Exchange.
The United States expanded sanctions against Iran's petroleum and petrochemical sectors on Friday in response to an Iranian missile attack on Israel, the administration of President Joe Biden said. The U.S. move adds petroleum and petrochemicals to an executive order that targets key sectors of Iran's economy with the aim of denying the government funds to support its nuclear and missile programs. The new designations today also include measures against the ghost fleet that carries Iran's illicit oil to buyers around the world, Jake Sullivan, the National Security Advisor, said in a statement. These measures will help further deny Iran financial resources used to support its missile programs and provide support for terrorist groups that threaten the United States, its allies, and partners.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
The Omsk oil refinery, Russia's largest by production volumes, increased crude processing by 4% year-on-year in the January to September period thanks to a modernization of its facilities, energy giant Gazprom said. The oil refinery, which is controlled by Gazprom's oil arm Gazprom-Neft, also said in its statement late on Thursday that it boosted domestic supply of gasoline by 5% and of diesel by 10% in the period. It did not provide volumes. The plant, located around 2,700 kilometers, 1,700 miles, east of Moscow, processed 21.28 million tons or 425,600 barrels per day of oil in 2023, accounting for almost 8% of Russia's total oil refining.
Japan is considering stepping up purchases of liquefied natural gas, LNG, for emergency needs to at least 12 cargoes a year from Freenow, an official of its industry ministry said, to guard against unexpected supply shocks. The reserve-boosting plan entails additional purchases by the world's second biggest buyer of LNG after China, increasing its buys to at least 0.84 million tons of LNG per annum from 0.21 million now. Japan is expanding its role as an LNG trader at a time of falling domestic demand overall for the fuel, but in a plan to boost energy security. It trades some cargoes that are not wanted at home during periods of weak demand. Next, we have the top news in metal markets. Turkey imposed anti-dumping duties on some steel imports from China, Russia, India and Japan, an official Gazette announcement said on Friday, with the highest tariffs on Chinese imports, boosting stocks of flat steel producers. The duties affect some 4 million tons of product imports with a value of some $2-2.2 billion. Turkish Steel Producers Association Secretary General Veysel Yayan told Reuters. The duties range from 6.10% to 43.31% of cost, insurance and freight prices in a move aimed at preventing unfair competition after appeals by domestic producers, the announcement said.
Aluminium prices rose in London on Friday on concerns that supply disruptions from Guinea, a major exporter of the feed material, would further tighten the market for alumina, the main ingredient in making aluminium. Emirates Global Aluminium said on Friday the exports of alumina raw material bauxite from its subsidiary Guinea Alumina Corporation were suspended by customs and it was seeking clarity from customs on the reason. 3-month aluminium on the London Metal Exchange rose 2.2% to $2,641 per metric ton by 16:15 GMT.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector.
U.S. farmers produced even more corn than expected this year, the U.S. Department of Agriculture said on Friday, expanding its forecast for the nation's second biggest harvest ever. USDA trimmed its soybean production forecast in a monthly report, though that crop is still expected to be a record. Abundant supplies pushed futures prices for both crops to 2020 lows this year, dragging down farmers' incomes after a record corn crop in 2023 and tough global export competition from Brazil.
That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.